and welcome to Leadership Kitsap Alumni Spotlight, where both the host and guest are alumni of our local 10-month leadership development course. This program shines a spotlight on just one of the several hundred graduates who have given countless hours of their time and effort to make things happen through leadership. I'm your host, Theresa Smith, class of 2008, Engineering Design Manager at Kitsap County Public Works. Joining me today is Ashley Oaksmith, class of 2018. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm just so excited to have this chance to talk with you. So tell me, which class are you with?
Class of 2018.
2018. Mm-hmm. That's not that long ago.
No.
Mine's a little bit longer.
7 or 8 years.
So I think that's how we met. I was on the Leadership Kitsap board, and you were in the class.
Yep.
So what inspired you to join Leadership Kitsap?
So I was new to Kitsap County. I'd lived in 5 other states, found my way to Washington, and with Kitsap Regional Library, I was the branch manager of the Silverdale Library at the time, and my supervisor, the director of public services at that time, was the president of the Leadership Kitsap board, and so I heard about it from her. It was very much where her heart was for the community. So I ended up joining the class and then becoming project co-chair.
That's right.
The following year, and so you and I spent more time together at that time. But it really was learning about her passion for leadership and community, and Kitsap Regional Library's dedication to leadership as well that got me involved with Leadership Kitsap. And then once I was in, I was hooked.
Right?
Yeah.
It's hard to leave once you're in Leadership Kitsap because you start learning about the community.
You meet so many people.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the awesome work that all the leaders in this community do.
Yes.
So you've been out of the class. Well, now you're part of the board.
Board president this year. I got
board
roped into that.
So how many years have you been involved with Leadership Kitsap at this point?
Yeah, I guess about 7.
7 years?
Yeah, 6 or 7 years.
From being in the class to being co-chair, and then now the board, and then being a president.
Yeah.
And you and I have spent a lot more time being at the board at the same time as well.
Yes.
So it's a hard-working board for sure. Yeah. So what are your perspectives now of the community? What did Leadership Kitsap bring to you after you've been through the class, been through the board, working with all these leaders, both as speakers and as part of the board? Did your perspective about the county change?
Absolutely. So at first, I call Leadership Kitsap and the signature program a crash course in Kitsap County. It was single-handedly the most effective way. Being a new person in the community, but it's just as effective for someone who's lived here their entire life, it's their generation, and then goes through the program. So I find it to be effective for either individual. But for me, it was a way to understand all industries, all facets of the county, government, for-profit, nonprofit. You got a kind of a view into each of those worlds, and I was able to make so many connections and contacts and have a better understanding of not only the county as a structure and the industry that's here, but also what drives kind of the purpose and a lot of the nonprofits in the community as well, who's connected with who, and where Kitsap is very strong. Right, I've served in other communities in other ways, and Kitsap's a really dynamic, special place. That's why I choose to live here.
It's hard to walk away, isn't it? Once you know all these issues and the people that inspire you to kind of do more.
Yes.
I mean, your work with the library already exposes you to a lot of the community. So, were there other parts of the community that you got involved in that's not related to what you do day to day?
Oh, absolutely. And what was interesting, specifically going through the signature program for Leadership Kitsap, was Economics Day and understanding those aspects. I mean, how often do you get a tour of Watson Furniture?
That's right. Really impressive.
And understanding that that's these quiet little nooks of the county that are incredibly impactful and powerful at a national and international level.
Absolutely.
I mean, the shipyard, Bangor, and a lot of the for-profit entities. So at the time, I've always been kind of in government, quasi-government, nonprofit, at least for the last 17 or so years. I've had more interaction with kind of the for-profit business world through Leadership Kitsap and other connections that have resulted as part of that. And it's a very robust, the kind of the ecosystem we have in Kitsap is incredibly robust and interesting.
I agree.
Yeah.
So you were part of delivering the new Silverdale Library building.
Yes.
And then after you delivered cut the ribbon, you decided to go from the nonprofit to a for-profit. You started working for Clark Construction.
Yes.
So when you've been a librarian for pretty much, since you graduated from college.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about what inspired you to make that switch.
Yeah. From a personal perspective, I'm a lifelong learner, and I when there's something I was curious about, I had to kind of scratch that itch a little bit, which is why I was recruited over there after a coffee conversation. What was kind of the result of that path? I had always worked on library renovation projects. I was part of building a library system in Texas before coming here. And then part of the reason I was hired for Kitsap Regional Library was because of that past experience with building and construction and design. That was part of the conversation, knowing that eventually we would get a new Silverdale Library. And so I was part of that process of the new library, the building. I was very much involved with that team. And it felt really incredible to see that building, to, be a part of the ribbon cutting.
You gave birth.
It was very much.
It was like your baby.
It was my baby, and to be on that team was a really incredible experience. To see the need in the community. The old Silverdale Library was incredibly active, but it was too small, and that had been serving that community for 30-some years, and it was really wonderful to be a part of Silverdale growing up in that respect. Of, hey, we have enough foot traffic to need a bigger space, to have community spaces available, to do the partnership with the school district, to all of those. And so the one piece of that puzzle that opening the Silverdale Library kind of awoke was, I know construction from what we'd say an owner's side, from client side of that, and I had experienced that in a variety of different scenarios, but I didn't know the inner workings of construction, the contracts,
the actual implementation and delivery.
Actual implementation and delivery. And so that project just made me more curious, and I'm still a librarian at heart, right?
Right.
And so I ended up going to Clark Construction and getting the opportunity to shadow the founder. It's a female-founded company, and I spent 6 months shadowing her, learning all aspects of commercial construction, primarily from estimating to hands-on building, QA, QC, all of that. And that was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Working for an agency as an engineer, I am appreciative and impressed that you, as an owner, a client, is willing to kind of see all the work and effort that goes into, building something.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes people wonder, why does it take so long to construct a road or construct a building?
Yeah.
So I think that perspective gives you like a leg up on, especially when you're thinking about your budget, how much it's really going to cost, because you know what it takes to get there.
Yes.
So now you're back to working for Kitsap County, Kitsap Regional Library for Sylvan Way.
Yes.
Tell me about your role there.
Absolutely. So branch manager of the Sylvan Way Library. That library is the largest one by square foot in the county. It's a beautiful building from the 70s.
That's my home library. It reminds me of my childhood.
It's a magical library that really has a heart for community. And I'm really happy to be back with kids. Even with kind of the years in construction, I was always a librarian working at a construction company and soaking in all of that information. Loved that work equally. But I kind of feel like I'm coming home.
Oh, yeah.
In a way. And so I'm responsible for the Sylvan Way Library and also for the Mobile Services Department. And Mobile Services provides homebound delivery.
Oh, that's a neat service.
Yeah, it's been around for, the life of Kitsap Regional Library. And it's an incredible department and incredible service. So if people are temporarily homebound, permanently homebound, they make visits to senior centers. And we know we have an aging population in Kitsap County, so that's very much a need and a rising need.
So you bring the library to them?
Bring the library to them. If they can come to us, or we have the opportunity to go to them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's been, the mobile services has been there for a while.
Yes.
What improvements are you considering?
Yeah, I'm still early on in the stage of getting to know all of the wonderful work that both departments are doing. And then really paying attention to listening to community and to those teams who serve the community. And there are team members there that have been there for 20, 30 years. And so really being a support system for them, doing the work and brainstorming with them and with community about how we can make those services more robust and more community focused. I think that's always the goal, is communities change, the needs of patrons, clients change, how can we improve customer service, and what are people actually asking for, and adapting to those changing needs. Because Kitsap grows, it's aging like I mentioned, but there are new people moving in, and people's needs change, and how can we adapt to that?
I love that, because you have several branches. You know, Kitsap Library has several branches, and when you walk in each library, it's like a little microcosm of the community it serves. Like you could tell Silverdale Way is, Silverdale Library is a little bit more modern, right? It's what Silverdale is.
Yep.
And then you got Sylvan Way, which is more neighborhood. Like I said, it reminds me of the library I used to go to when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
And then you've got the downtown Bremerton Library, which feels like, it's got that old building
Historic.
and it serves downtown.
Yes.
It serves the downtown core.
Yep.
So I think it's fascinating, so I appreciate that you are tailoring the library based on the community it serves, right? It's not just a cookie cutter library.
No.
So besides your work as the Leadership Kitsap Board President, are you involved in any other organizations in the community?
Yeah, I'm actually involved with the Greater Kitsap Chamber. I'm on the board there. And then also Kitsap Community Foundation, and they do incredible work supporting other nonprofits in the community. So they do like the Kitsap Great Give and other events like that. And so right now those are my two other focuses, which really align well with both the work I was doing at Clark, which was in business development, the work I'm doing at the library again. I see a lot of they're all three of those nonprofits. Are county-wide, and they have slightly different focuses, right? Leadership Kitsap is about empowering community leaders. Chamber supporting businesses. They do support nonprofits as well, but supporting businesses. And Greater Kitsap, or Kitsap Community Resources, I'm saying it wrong, pardon that. But Kitsap Community Foundation supports other nonprofits. And so I think I'm able to kind of
tie it all together,
and they each have very distinct purposes and missions, but they align with what matters to me.
It does
as well.
So when do you sleep? That's a lot. That's a lot of involvement. I'm tired just listening to it. So you are an artist as well. I've seen your paintings, and they evoke emotions. So explain a little bit of what type of painting you do and the subject that you cover.
Absolutely. And so I've been painting for over 20 years, quietly. It's very much my outlet. And I've more recently, in the last couple of years, turned it into a business. And it's still very much an outlet for me. So I do oil on linen, and I paint landscapes. And specifically painting clouds and wind. That's very much what it is painting wind, and the changes and nuances of wind. And a lot of inspiration I travel a lot, so a lot of inspiration from various places I've traveled to. I don't necessarily paint from a picture, it very much comes from my head, but looking at how colors interact with motion is what I paint. And I mostly sell in Seattle directly to interior designers for large spaces.
Oh, wow.
And I think I've sold in maybe 4 countries.
Amazing.
And so it's kind of this other quiet thing that I do, but ultimately it's there to feed me.
So when I see one of your paintings, am I seeing Ashley's emotions on that painting that day?
Maybe a little
like a
bit.
litmus test? A little bit, because I've seen the clouds. I see that your focus is the clouds, that you could really see that Ashley's having a little turbulent day today.
No.
Or she's really happy because she's using yellow. So is that the outlet? I mean, you're involved in so much with the community, and whenever I see you, you're always happy. So is this where you pour your emotions then?
Yes, in the way of energy. So it won't necessarily be bright colors are happy, dark colors are I'm feeling more. It's more of the energy. So you might see something calmer versus something more turbulent and that can be happy energy or focused energy. But I think there is some kind of translation there. But I'm generally really kind of easygoing, happy person.
Yes, you are.
And that's true, and
I love that.
That's exactly right. I also have this personal mantra of everything in moderation.
I need that mantra. That's awesome.
And that steadies me.
Is that hard something so personal that was just you that you were doing silently to put out to the world and then actually sell and then wait for someone to accept it? I mean, how did that go for you?
That was one, and when you think about kind of leadership, and you think about vulnerability, that
absolutely,
out of anything I've done, even switching careers or speaking at conferences or any of the painting has been the single most vulnerable experience for me because it is so personal and I kept it so quiet for so long. That was an incredible test in my own self-awareness.
Courage. That's huge courage.
It was
right
hard.
there.
It was very hard to not know how people were going to respond. And people can like your social media posts and things like that, but to really ask you about it and be engaged and be interested, to connect you with galleries, to all of those other kind of the business side of it, to want a painting or to come to a showing, those sorts of I didn't expect any of that, right?
Right.
And you never do of friends and colleagues because that's a different world.
It is. And if you thought about it too much, I don't think you would do it. You would scare yourself silly.
Totally.
So I'm almost afraid to ask you this last question because you do so much already. But let's ask it this way. Instead of asking you what's next, what inspires you to keep doing what you do as much as you do?
Oh, that's a good question. People.
What about people?
People in that I get inspired when I'm around other people that are doing amazing things. So that fills my cup. In some ways I'm introverted, and that's why I love doing quiet hobbies like painting. And I'm a librarian. I love to read. I don't get much reading time in, but I love to do it. And people fill my cup, and people that are doing good things, I feel very much inspired. So if someone is doing something they're really passionate about, I see that and I think, no, they have purpose, they have drive. That inspires me to find whatever that is for me. And I have found those things, and I hope the reverse happens and that I'm able to inspire others to say, no, whatever that is for you, find that thing that inspires you, where you can give back to community, that fills your cup, that creates that internal energy. Find that thing, and there's something to be said for it when you surround yourself with people that have a good sense of themselves, a good sense of purpose, personal purpose at work, whatever that is, and then they work in that direction towards whatever success looks like in that space, whether it's working for a specific nonprofit in their volunteer time, whether it's being engaged with Leadership Kitsap, whatever that looks like. I encourage people to be authentic to themselves and find that. And then we all kind of lift each other up and inspire each other with good energy.
I love that. So focus, energy, inspiration, empowerment. Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I love this conversation.
Yeah, this is amazing. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of Leadership Kitsap Alumni Spotlight. If you want to become a part of the vibrant team working to build a new and continuing source of fine leaders right here in Kitsap County. Reach out to us online at leadershipkitsap.org, on Instagram and Facebook. For the Leadership Kitsap Alumni Spotlight, I'm Theresa Smith. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Mm-hmm.